"Is that the Titanic?" she asked, pointing toward a corner of the ceiling where a model of a large steamship hung between two pairs of brass opera glasses. "I think that would be in poor taste, considering," said Lamont, squinting into the collection overhead. "It's probably the Queen Mary." "You're probably right," said Margo. She looked like she was about to say something else, but before she could speak, 2 plates were already being set on the table. The service in this place was impeccable. On each plate, gobs of snowy white lobster meat nestled in a tangle of chopped greens, topped with a lace of cream sauce, and flecked with small croutons. Lamont and Margo each speared a morsel of lobster. They lifted their forks and tapped them together in a playful toast. "To us," said Lamont. "To secrets," whispered Margo, her eyes on his. She slid a chunk of lobster into her mouth as Lamont took his first small bite. "You can't hold out forever, you know," he said. "I have my methods." "Maybe I'm just holding out for dessert," said Margo. Her eyes widened. She dropped her fork. "Lamont!" Her voice was suddenly pinched and pained. At the same moment, Lamont felt a hot rush in his skull, like somebody had just set his frontal lobes on fire. His throat tightened in a sharp spasm, and his hands flew up reflexively to his neck. Margot's head rolled back as a small stream of white foam oozed from between her rose-tinted lips. Her slender body went limp. Lamont knew instantly what had happened, but his vocal cords were tightening. He could barely squeeze out the word. "Poison!" 2. Lamont lurched to his feet with so much force that the small round table crashed to one side, dumping a clatter of glasses and plates onto the floor. Guests at other tables sat frozen in place. A busboy backed up against the wall, his metal tray trembling against his chest. Margo was already past standing, almost past breathing. White foam now cascaded in a bubbly froth across the bow on her dress. Lamont spun his chair aside and reached for her. He slid one arm under Margot's knees, the other behind her shoulders. Her head was loose and hanging back, her eyes half shut. As Lamont staggered toward the door with Margo in his arms, a few waiters jumped to push chairs and serving carts aside. Lamont couldn't think. He could hardly see. Through the small window in the front door, he could barely make out the vertical lines of the iron gate outside. Just a few more steps until they were outside. Near the door, a maitre d' loomed, not moving to help, just staring, arms folded across his chest. In a flash, for just a split second, Lamont saw the man's elegant evening suit replaced by a golden robe. Or did he? Was he delirious? Was this really happening? Margo. Margo was all that mattered. He barely noticed the foam spilling from his own mouth, running down the front of his tux, dripping onto the tips of the maitre d's expensive shoes. As Lamont kicked the door open, he felt the maitre d' lean toward him. "Was everything to your liking, Mr. Cranston?" he asked with a cruel smile. In that moment, Lamont knew the truth. Now he realized there was only one chance, one way to possibly save Margo and himself. And he knew it was the longest of long shots. The sidewalk was a few steps up from the restaurant's sunken entrance. Lamont stumbled on the lowest step, hard enough to scrape a hole in his trousers. He adjusted his grip as he struggled to hold Margo up. Her high-heeled shoes hung from her small feet by thin, glittery straps. Then, through the fog and fever clouding his brain, Lamont heard a maniacal, deep-throated laugh. He knew that laugh. 3. "My car!" Lamont shouted. The young valet always kept Lamont's roadster close. For a crisp $5 bill, he would sit in the sleek, black Mercedes-Benz SSK for the whole evening, keeping it warmed up and ready. When the valet heard Lamont call out, he put the powerful car in gear and pulled up to the entrance. Lamont freed one hand enough to wrench the passenger door open. As gently as he could, he slid Margo onto the soft leather seat. He pushed her long legs into the narrow passenger compartment and slammed the door.